Okay, so as I mentioned last time, this video series is going to be a little bit different, a lot different from what I've been sharing in the past. Um, where I said I see myself headed is very much into the direction of manifesting better health rather than talking about having bad health and fixing it. Because as many of you may have heard, especially if you're in the spiritual realm of things, um, where attention goes, energy flows. So in this video, I'm going to talk quite a bit about how I've been noticing tons of synchronicities in my life lately and what I've been doing as far as my health and what I will continue to do in order to focus on abundance instead of lack. Because if you look at, from a manifestation standpoint, when we talk about manifesting money, for example, which is what most people focus on, or relationships, when we think of those things, we say, um, we want something we don't already have. And we have the idea that we need to do something to go get it, that it's going to take a certain amount of time or whatever our beliefs might be. But we don't often think about manifesting health, um, because we think in terms of, I have to do X, Y, Z. And I'm not suggesting that there isn't actions involved. What I am suggesting, or more than suggesting, is that the actions are secondary. If you don't first shift your mindset, and I don't just mean mindset like I need to eat better or take supplements or something like that, but your mindset as far as just being grateful for where you're at, the energy that you put out is influencing your health more than any of those other things. And I'll share. I'm not honestly sure where exactly this video is going to go. I'm just winging it right now and sharing from my heart, which is what I'm excited to do. And I can tell you from a perspective of what they've studied as far as gratitude, and from my own personal experience with my cancer journey, a, an attitude of gratitude very much influences your health. Very much influences your health. Um, I will say this one thing in relation to menopause. It's absolutely about the emotional body, right? Like, yeah, there maybe need to be some dietary changes, but even that is secondary. The emotional body is shifting, and all of this stuff is cropping up because there's a misalignment in the energy of who you truly are compared to what your body is feeling. And your body is telling you that, look here, lady, um, things are out of alignment. You are not fully expressing yourself. You are burying all of this crap and pretending that you're this small person with small goals or small feelings, when none of that is true, right? Like, I'm not saying that all of us are going to look exactly the same in the way that we run our life, nor should we be. But when we're acting like less than the God that we are, yeah, I said it, then we're going to get that kind of stuff. So here's what's been going on with me lately. And this does tie in, but it's going to focus on manifesting other things besides health. In the last few weeks, I'll summarize briefly that part. I have manifested something that was a dream of mine for a long time. And it's still in the developing phase, but I very much see it as happening in the now. Like, it's being built right now. And I'm not going to go into detail about what that is, but it relates to a relationship. As a result of that, knowing that I manifested this, my mind, my heart, my whole being has just been exploding with excitement. And that was kind of the permission slip that I needed in air quotes as well, because we don't really need a permission slip. We just tell ourselves we do. It was the permission slip that I needed in order to allow myself to fully express some of these other areas of joy. So I'm in this state of just being like thrilled with life. And I start moving from that state of energy. I'm trying to think back to how it all happened. Um, there was a synchronous, so much has happened in this past week. It's not coming to me right now, so I'm going to go with the flow here. A group of us have been working on figuring out a place to buy land for a spiritual intentional community. And after a bunch of synchronicities related to a retreat that one of those friends and I have been putting together for a visionary group of us to solidify our energies, if that makes any sense, as far as creating this vision. The retreat stuff really started to pick up speed and going really well, and we were both excited. Well, while we're still in that energy, this same friend who had been shopping for different land opportunities reaches out to me, and she's like, "Oh my God, there's this awesome, exciting synchronicity." Without getting too deep into the details, which were all a bunch of synchronicities, I looked at this land and I just knew. I still know, like, oh my God, we're gonna be living there, and it snowballed, and one thing after another, and it's just like it's already happening. And yes, there's actions being taken, but all along the way, it's like for one example, I'm talking with her and she's like, well, we're going to need a business plan in order to take, this to the bank and ask for a loan. Right. And I'm talking to a different friend who's got a vested interest as well. And he says, oh, and he has no idea that conversation happened. He says, oh, me and my, friend, when we were creating our charity, we came up with a business plan related to, he didn't know I was, had talked to her about wanting a business plan. He didn't know that. Stuff like that has happened over and over and over. Okay. We could, and all of us did very briefly focus on, wow, this piece of property costs a lot of money. And none of us have that kind of money yet. But we could have stopped without the yet. We could have been like, we don't have it. We don't know how to get it. It's not going to happen. But instead it was like, I don't know how, but it is. It is going to happen. Treat your health the same way. If you keep sharing and thinking and dwelling on my health is terrible, I don't know what to do, or even if you're doing some things and you say, well, this is going to take, let's say one of the ones I will admit to. Okay, I recently started doing these new affirmations and really feeling them, not just saying them, because again, it's an energy thing. And I had it in my head, this is going to take a year. This is going to take a year for me to reset my nervous system and really buy into these new affirmations. Who made that decision that it was going to take a year? Well, I heard some guys say it, but does that mean I have to agree with it? Just like going to the doctor's office and the doctor says, XYZ is true. Okay, you absolutely can give permission for that information to be true, but you're giving away your power. And that may sound far-fetched, but I could list off a whole bunch of examples of people that decided not to listen to the person in the white coat and make up their own mind. And I shared some of that in the last video. For me, what happened during my cancer journey with the gratitude was I just started noticing so many things to be grateful for, because I was having one of those moments of recognizing this could be the end of my life. How do I want to spend it? Do I want to spend it grumbling and complaining and thinking about cancer all the time? No, I don't. So I would take walks and I would notice things like the colors. How much do we take that for granted? These beautiful colors, the birds, the sounds. I mean, I got pretty specific with it, but every time I would go for one of these walks, I would be grateful for all of these different things. Fast forward to more recently, as a result of this permission slip, I have been flying high and grateful, so much so, just like at a new level of happiness. I have also simultaneously been acting upon a new kind of meditation that was shared with me by my spiritual teacher, who I very much appreciate. And the short explanation of it, reach out if you want more details. The short explanation of it is finding a place of unconditional love. Like, let me put it to you this way. And as so often as women, it's easier for us to give unconditional love than it is to receive it. But here's the thing, and I'll explain that after the meditation. So you're doing this unconditional love, like you're sending that energy out to somebody. Unconditional, that's very important. I know I've said that a lot now. Unconditional, okay? So not when they do this, or if they do that, or if they hadn't done that, or whatever. Unconditional, okay? So you're focused on unconditional love and ending suffering for that person. And here's some things that helped me get there. You have to figure out what will help you get there. When my daughter was 11, she died of cancer. And in those last days of her life, there came a point at which the suffering, her physical suffering, was intense. And I whispered to her in a moment of desperate love, abundant love, if you have my permission to go. If you're ready to go, you have my permission to go. You have my blessing. And that was a terribly hard thing to say, but also the most loving thing I've ever said to another human being. And the other example is more recent. My sister passed a few weeks ago, and when we found her, the official cause of death was a heart attack. When we found her, she was smiling. Well, I don't know about you, but I can't imagine a situation where a person would smile after having a heart attack. That was a gift. And what I saw in that moment, and what I knew in my heart, because of what I now understand about the world, is not, we're manifesting everything because we are God, and we are in the universe is not physical. So I saw her in that moment and realized she's not suffering anymore. And she had suffered most of her life, not just because she had cancer or whatever, but she was a person that struggled a lot in her life with self-criticism. And the peace that I saw with her laying there with that smile on her face, and knowing that level of unconditional, like no more suffering, that unconditional, I don't want you to suffer. No matter what went down between her and I in our life, and we fought like cats and dogs over our life, different periods of time. It didn't matter, because all I saw was, I am so grateful for the fact that you are no longer suffering. And so find whatever story helps you get there, whatever permission slip you need, and offer that bursting amount of unconditional love to the people in your life. You don't have to say anything unless you just really feel compelled to, and go for it if you do. Don't keep it in. But extending that kind of love to others is also, and this is what I said I'd explain later, is also extending it to yourself. Because if you think about feelings, yes, it affects the collective. Our thoughts and feelings affect the collective, very much so. And there's a ton of science behind that. But even you can just imagine your own personal experience. You walk into a room, and if a bunch of people are sad, you're likely to pick up on that. If a bunch of people are happy, you're likely to pick up on that. And that is just a very simple explanation of, yes, our thoughts and feelings affect one another. So, yeah, but they affect us more. So while we're sending out that unconditional love to others, we're actually feeling it for ourselves. And I will tell you, it's powerful. It may very well cause you to burst into tears. I had a moment today as I was driving to a spiritual center, and there was a bunch of synchronicities happening today. Um, as I was driving to a spiritual center, I was thinking about how I, for the last few days, have been more free in sharing my appreciation for others. Deep, meaningful comments, not just, oh, thanks, and there's nothing wrong with that, but really feeling and sharing vulnerable things with them about how I felt appreciative. And it shifted some really cool situations. But, okay, lost my train. So I'm driving to the spiritual center and I'm thinking about those stories and I'm realizing how much power there is, how much joy there is, how much healing there is in sharing that kind of love, that kind of joy with others. And a story came to mind. I listened to a teacher by the name of Brian Ridgway, and he was talking about many times in his life he had been um, very successful financially, and then the bottom would fall out and he would lose everything. And on the last time that it happened, and over his life, he had dealt with a lot of depression and self hatred. And the last time that it happened, he got to bottom, like he was ready to kill himself. And um, he had somebody, he was helping another family out just out of the goodness of his heart. And he had this gift that he was sharing with them, a spiritual gift. And the husband of this couple reached out to him and said, I just really feel like I need to tell you something. And he, for just like an hour or two, just went on and on and on and on about how wonderful this guy was. And at that moment, that self-hatred shifted. And all of a sudden, everything opened up for this guy. And now he's doing quite well for himself and he's sharing the love in unbelievable ways. So, my point being, it was because somebody took the time to bless him in that way that spell, that story was broken. And so, as we do that for others, as we pour out that unconditional love, not only are we potentially helping ourselves feel that, but we could shift a story for somebody in a way that changes their whole trajectory. Um, they absolutely have to give permission for it. So you're not making anybody do anything because all of us are God. All of us get to say what we're going to receive or not receive. And that's the whole point of what this video is about. So if you are telling yourself, I'm not there yet, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough, I couldn't possibly heal myself, then that's what will be true for you. You're refusing to receive it. The example I can give that's on a much smaller scale, if you are a person that struggles to take compliments, somebody says, oh, wow, you did a great job. Thank you so much. And you're like, yeah, well, it's not that good, or that's nice, thanks, but you don't actually receive the compliment because you think, well, that can't be true. Well, that's exactly what you're going to get because that's the experience that you've chosen. And the universe will reflect that. So if you continue to just whine and complain and argue about what's going on in your body, and your body's like, hey, I'm trying to point you in a direction to free yourself, to help us both, you have a choice. Pick. keep picking, oh my God, my life sucks, my health sucks, it's going to keep sucking, I hate this, it's terrible, or I choose healing. And there's a course that I'll be writing, and I wasn't planning on sharing this, but it just popped into my head. So there you go. I'm going with the flow. Um, it's a book that I read that made a major dent in my stories in my head, related to my big time triggers around religion, um, and a bunch of other stuff that shifted as well. But uh, the book is called Conscious Language. I will be the Conscious Language, the Logos of Now. Forget the author's name. Um, I will be creating a course and helping people understand how to apply that knowledge. And it very much relates to the words that are coming out of your mouth are a reflection of what's in your heart. If you're whining and complaining about whatever's going on, and no judgment, been there, done that. And if you want to keep doing it, keep doing it. But you are creating more of the same. And bottom line, your emotional well-being very much directs your health. So if you're in a state of poor me, that's the kind of health you're going to get, because the universe is like, okay, she likes the vibe of poor me. Let's keep giving her that. You are literally creating it. I don't know how much else to say that, but also you have to decide for yourself. Whatever you decide is 100% right for you. And what I have to offer and what I will continue to write videos on is how to move into a place of changing that mindset and shifting the energy flow from focusing on the problem to trusting that the solution is already on its way. It's already here. The physical manifestation may take a little while to catch up, but ignore that. Think of it in terms of, if you've ever had, been pregnant, you got the act, and then you got the pregnancy. It doesn't mean it's not happening, right? So I heard a really cool, this will be the last thing I share. I heard a really cool video reel that said, if you want to know what your health looks like, okay, how did it go? If you want to know what your health was like in the past, look at your thoughts. And if you want to know what your health will look like in the future, look at your thoughts. What are you telling yourself? Choose your thoughts wisely. You get to pick. You get to pick the definitions. You get to pick the understandings. You get to pick. Choose wisely.